I
And
know.
I know that we all get that, but we have never, as a industry, ever really trained our LOs to understand who we are to our clients. And your comment is probably the most common thing that I hear in just about every corner of our business when it comes to trying to originate a relationship. And so one of the things that I pride myself on is understanding where you've come from or where you're at, because I was a loan officer from 1996 through 2013. I owned my own shop. I opened it, I closed it, and landed here at Success Mortgage Partners. I've had 30 employees in multiple states. I know what you're going through. I originated relationships organically, never did a marketing or advertising. So I've got some background in understanding what it feels like to have to sit there and pick up the telephone and try to talk to somebody the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth time and feel like you're really running out of things to say and you feel very salesy. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, after a while, they're not. I mean, I'm just talking to an answering machine, because they
Right,
don't want to
right.
pick up the phone. They got me on. They got my number, and they know who I am.
Right. So this is where this first class that Bobby and I worked on last week is going to pay such great dividends for you. So let me kind of get this piece of it out of the way first. And it's 11 o'clock sharp, so let's go ahead and get started. So
Here, by the way.
hey, Bobby, what's up, brother?
Hey, how are y'all?
I'm fantastic. I'm glad to hear you're still alive.
Yeah, I'm here.
I thought yesterday by the picture of that
Hey.
rattlesnake, by the picture of that size of that rattlesnake, I thought for sure that he had brothers and sisters that were coming after you.
He was good size.
It was a good size. So hey, Bobby, we have a gentleman on the phone by the name of John Ray. He is based out of Florida, and he and I talked a week or so ago. He wanted to participate in last week's class, but it didn't work out for him. So I wanted to kind of do a refresher of what we talked about last week. So you can chime in when you want, brother. But for the most part, I'm just going to kind of bring him up to speed in a very condensed version of it.
All right. Hey, John, how are you?
Hey, good, Bobby. What's happening, man?
Where are you at in Florida?
Fort Myers, Cape Coral.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I grew up in Florida, born and raised.
Oh yeah, where at?
Yeah, lived in Jacks Beach, and actually my middle son was born in Tampa.
I see.
So.
So it sounds like you're not in Florida anymore.
No, I've been gone from there. I spent 25 years in Atlanta, and I've moved back to the big city of Alabama.
Nice. Roll Tide roll.
No, not for me, buddy.
Okay, I didn't know. I mean,
Gator fan by birth and a Tiger by marriage.
All right, that's cool. Well, I'm an Embo Blue guy, so anything good you can say about Michigan, I appreciate it.
Hey, my wife's grandfather's from there, and we pull for them when they play, so that's a good thing.
All right, there you go.
I'm not even going to comment. I'm a Sparty, so I'm not even going to say a word.
I know we already talked about that. You're on the bad list. No.
So hey, listen, guys. I want to cover as much as we possibly can. So
all right.
What Bobby and I talked about last week really is summed up like this. This whole experience that we're about to go through is less about technique on tools that you use from the Freedom Club and from other sources on how you originate businesses. This isn't about Freedom Callers. This isn't about virtual assistants. This isn't about Jungo or Salesforce. This isn't about any CRM. What this is going to be an evolution of the training that we should have gotten the moment that we got into the business. And my goal in this is to get you to start answering this question every single day for the rest of your career. Why did you get out of bed this morning, and why should anybody care? This question in and of itself covers the gambit of both your personal and professional life, but we're going to leave it to your professional life for just for the sake of what we're doing, but it applies in your personal life as well, and sometimes there's some overlap. The truth behind it is that we don't know who we are when we show up in front of our clients. And I'm a firm believer that if you don't know who you are in front of your clients, how are your clients ever going to know who you are? And that seems like a very vague question, but after our conversation last week, Bobby, what do you think is an appropriate answer to that question when you sit in front of like either the broker that you talked to last week or just in general when you're going to pick up the phone? Does that feel like it's a genuine question that all of us really need to be able to answer?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we, you know, I guess the way I look at it is I'm here to help as many people as I can and refer whoever I can. So for me, that means, you know, if the deal makes sense or if I get a referral and I, you know, show the gratitude towards it, and if I can help, whether I actually do the loan or not, I'm gonna do what I can to make it work for everybody involved.
So when you sit down in front of your clients, do you consider yourself to be a loan officer? Do you consider yourself to be a originator? Do you consider yourself to be, like, what do you see yourself as when you start talking to people?
Well, let's say based on, and I'm kind of cheating here, right, based on our discussion.
That's fine.
But,
that's fine.
But, yeah, I mean, I'm still probably more on the loan originator, or the originator, or the loan officer side versus the originator side. Let's put it that way.
All right. So, in your own words, would you mind telling John what the definition is between the difference between being an originator and a loan officer?
Well, for me, I mean, basically the loan officer is, you know, that person that is caught up in the minutia involved with a transaction, you know, the taking the app, the gathering the documents, the making sure it goes to processing, clearing conditions, all that kind of stuff, versus the originator being someone that's more relationship based, someone that's out there selling, well, I mean, it is selling yourself, but not in a forceful way, I guess, but basically selling yourself as well, it's really being more referable, I guess.
You got it. You got it. That's exactly the word that I wanted you to use.
Right.
See, John, the difference between being a loan officer is that's somebody that you can train to push the paper along, understand guidelines, understand timeframes, understand how to manage a process from start to finish. The originator in us is the person that goes out there, and it has to be what we call referable. And I've coined the term called relationship amplifier. And I want you to hear me out on this, because if we learn nothing today, I want you to remember this statement. Your role in my conversations with you is to always wear the originator hat. I don't want to talk about the loan officer part of your business. That's not where this conversation or any conversation that we have is going to go for some time. The point of it is that when we talk, this class is going to work on the techniques that are necessary to get your mind to believe that you are an originator who goes out and amplifies relationships. You're not, neither one of you guys are loan officers in this call. You guys are relationship amplifiers, and so when you pick up the phone, you have to first believe who you are in order for somebody else to see you for who you are. I liken it to the way our spouses and the way we married our spouses, the way our spouses look at us and the way we look at our spouses. There's a certain attraction to somebody that's confident. There's a certain attraction to somebody that knows their value, and they want somebody that fulfills their needs or their wants. And when you find that person that kind of fits you, you spend the rest of your life with them. Well, the reality is that a lot of our relationships in our business are destined to fail because we aren't clear on what we are or who we are to them. And the biggest problem with that is that we have never spent any time trying to identify what our value is and why we do what we do. And so hopefully through the course of these conversations, we're going to make that a lot more clear for you. So what's on the screen, if both of you have your computer up or running? John, do you have your computer up?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So what's on the screen is really the fundamental piece of everything that I talk about and the reason why I talk about it. And this is why my business excelled so well when I didn't have to go out there and solicit realtors every single day. I didn't have to market to new clients. I didn't cold call. It was all what I consider to be very organic. And so the law of reciprocity is a very simple concept, and I'll just skim through this for sake of time. The law of reciprocity is not, it's not transactional. Many people believe in business dealings that it's a spot market exchange, value given for value received, period, nothing more, nothing less. We've all been involved in transactions that are very tit for tat, very transactional, and we know those transactions. A lot of times when we buy a car, a lot of times when we buy an appliance, a lot of times when we go buy clothes, it's very tit for tat, very transactional. But this mode of operation can produce success for businesses at very major layers or major scales. But when you're talking about intimate relationships that require us to close 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 loans a month, we're not allowed to treat relationships or transactions like transactions. We have to treat them like relationships. And what ends up happening is, in order to really receive success, monumental or major success, we have to start treating them like relationships. We have to understand our value inside of the relationships. The lesson is that when we go out there and seek relationships, when you pick up the telephone, John, you're seeking a spot-to-spot transaction. You're not calling the person up with value. You're calling up the person asking for something based out of a need, not a want. And the reality is that when you call somebody up and you feel like it's self-serving, it's uncomfortable. That's why we stopped doing some of the habits like the Thor's hammer. We're not as consistent. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, absolutely.
What ends up happening is the lesson is very simple. The lesson is that we cannot pursue the power of reciprocity, which the definition of reciprocity, John, do you know what that is?
No.
Okay. The law of reciprocity is when you do something for another person and you don't expect something in return, and they say thank you, or they acknowledge you, or they give some acknowledgement to your efforts, that balances the relationship back out. It puts the relationship in a position of balance so that the other person doesn't feel indebted. How many times have you done something for somebody and they've said thank you?
A lot.
A lot. How many times have you done something where somebody's acknowledged you and said, man, that was awesome?
I've had that, yeah.
Okay. When you open the door for somebody, because it's something that I think we could all relate to, when you open the door for somebody, do you expect them to say thank you?
Not really.
Okay. Do you do it to get a thank you?
No.
Okay. When somebody does say thank you and you weren't expecting it and you didn't do it to get a thank you, what does it do to your, how does it make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel good. I mean, they appreciate what I did, and I wasn't really, trying to get that from them, but it felt good.
You've experienced a very simple form of reciprocity.
Okay.
When you do something for somebody because it's who you are, you attract people. You attract attention because it's not normal. The lesson is very simple. When we pursue the power of reciprocity, when we try to invoke it directly, we lose sight of the reason for it, which is helping others. Paradoxically, it's in helping others without expecting reciprocity in return that we invoke the power of reciprocity in and of itself. The path to reciprocity, which is, again, the foundation of why we do what we do. See, this whole conversation isn't about what we do. It's about why we do it. Reciprocity ensues from the social capital built from making contributions to others. The reality is our business is full of people that are all very self-serving, that are all very self-motivated. I'm sorry, self-directed. In the sense of it isn't that they want anything other than they want to make money. They're chasing the result, and they do it in a very aggressive, very salesy, very badgering way. Hence the reason why picking up the phone the 4th, the 5th, the 6th time, it feels awkward and you go to voicemail. That in and of itself is proof to me, and it has always proved to me, that you're calling them without providing value. You're calling them for self-serving purposes. Can you understand that?
Absolutely.
Okay. The deliberate pursuit of this fails. It's just like happiness. Acts of contribution, big and small, build your fund of social capital, creating a vast network of reciprocity. And so those who help you may not be those who you help, and the help you receive may come from distant corners of your network. The truth of the matter is that when you show up to your business every day, When you get out of bed and understand why you're getting up, which for me is, I believe that I'm a amplifier. I believe that I'm a relationship amplifier. And I ask myself every day, why did I get out of bed today? Because I know that if I talk to people throughout the day, every person that I talk to is going to feel thankful and rewarded for knowing me and for talking to me. Now, that has nothing to do with loans. That has nothing to do with mortgages. I believe that I am an amplifier. I believe that I'm a connector. I believe that I'm the best person that you can talk to today because I'm going to make you feel good. I've got high energy, and I'm going to be somebody that you're going to thank me for talking to you. I don't care what we're going to talk about. That's irrelevant. But I'm going to make such an impact, subtly or not so subtly, that you're going to thank me in some way, shape, or form. And I'm going to use that mindset when I hear that acknowledgement of appreciation to help expand my brand. And my brand, again, is I'm a relationship amplifier. I make people thankful that they know me because I put people in positions to succeed in what they're after. And how I get benefit from is because they go back to the person that introduced us, and their relationship has become stronger because of it, which I'm going to jump ahead of myself a little bit, but there is what's called, in my business, called the triangle of trust. Have you guys, Bobby, did we talk about this before?
Yeah, we did, and I've actually, I knew a little bit about it just from reading 7 Levels of Communication.
So here's what this is my business logo. This is not all my business cards and my letterhead. The Triangle of Trust business, the Cattery Mortgage Group. What you're looking at here is more than just a logo. This is a conversation piece. If you looked at the 3 points of the triangle, I draw those out in front of clients because I want to express to them, and we'll get into this higher level conversation later in the next coming weeks, but the truth of the matter is that I'm at the bottom of this triangle. That's me at the bottom. The top 2 corners represent a referral and the referral source. I believe that through my efforts, I amplify the relationship at the top 2 corners by doing what's right to the referral source and to the referral. They become better with each other because I do what I'm supposed to, and I understand the power of reciprocity. I understand the power of relationships. Most of the time when we enter into this business, we're taught and trained to go close a sale, to be a loan officer, and to talk rates, fees, costs, and commodities. And that's why a lot of us burn out, right? There's no value in that. See, right now in today's economy, we live in what's called an experiential economy. We're no longer in the Industrial Revolution. We're no longer in the age of the Internet. But what everything has evolved to is that the Internet has basically commoditized every service that's out there. Is that fair? You can get shoes in 24 hours. You can buy something without paying sales tax. You can get a gift wrapped, hand delivered to you. I mean, there's really nothing that's been left besides commodities except for one thing, and that's our perception of the world around us. So when you hear ads on TV, mostly it's the big brands like Coca-Cola and Budweiser. To those two, I'll say this. Coca-Cola's bottles now have names on it. What's their slogan? Does anybody know?
I forget.
Share Coke with a friend. Tell me that's not an experience. Budweiser has this thing called anything USA. Whatever the thing was where you can go to, are you up for anything? They basically built a town and it was anything USA. That's an experience. See, it isn't about the product anymore. It isn't about the price anymore. It isn't even about the availability of the product anymore. It's about our experiences within the product. It's the ability for the consumer to believe what the presenter has and to make it so that it fits. So our role as an originator in our businesses is to create an experience that people want to be a part of. And the whole idea behind the triangle of trust, it's really simple. The triangle of trust is, I'm going to create an experience that you're going to become addicted to. And that, to the realtor, is probably the one thing that makes you different than everybody else. That's your ace in the hole. And so, Bobby, after our conversation last week, you had a meeting. You want to tell us a little bit about how it went?
Yeah, well, let me tell you one that's maybe a little more applicable to the triangle that you're talking about, and it actually happened, believe it or not, it actually happened this morning. So I had a realtor who I met at a board of realtors meeting, and he referred a guy over to me who had a bad experience, and they couldn't get his deal done, transaction. So I talked with the client, met with the client, got all the stuff, got everything going. Needed to rescore him to get him to where we could do something with him. I did that in 48 hours. And so this morning he sends me an email. This is a client, and he says, Bobby, you've made my day. He said, I appreciate your communication and all of the help and the work and everything you're doing. So I responded, and I started to forward you the email so you'd see it. But I responded, I said, well, Tommy, I appreciate that. It means a lot. I said, but can you do me a favor? I said, the next time you talk to Rocky's the agent, I said, can you just tell him thanks? Thanks for referring you to me. And he replied back and said, well, I've already done that. He said, because of, all the work and your communication and everything else. So then that leads to the fact that he says, oh, and by the way, my son is a realtor with ARC Realty, which is a big real estate company in Birmingham. So he said, I've already talked to him as well, and he will be referring people to you. Well, just so happens his son works for the guy that I met this morning at 9 o'clock, a realtor.
You got to be kidding me.
No. And and they actually worked together in a previous life. Tristan, this guy's son, and the guy I met this morning, they're younger folks. But anyway, that just all played out literally in the last, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours.
What do you think? Tell me why you think what happened this morning is a result of what we talked about last week.
I think it's just, one, just kind of the confidence, seeing the opportunity, and what I mean by that is the opportunity to ask, I wasn't asking for business, I was just asking for, hey, just, to amplify that relationship, right? I mean, because I'd already amplified the relationship, obviously, just based on the guy's response, with my client. And now, he's amplified that with the agent, and so anyway, I think that just having the conversation we had last week, going through the exercise, and really to some degree, just the level of confidence and a change in mindset, I think has helped, not to mention the fact that, I'm doing everything I can to make it work, not just for this guy, but anyone else and that I come across.
So what you did was you played the role of being an exceptionally good loan officer. What you performed for the client was your loan officer duties, and that's where we are all excellent. I believe that all of us, that's why we're not really going to talk about it, are exceptionally great loan officers. We wouldn't be in this industry today if we weren't really good loan officers. The problem is that where our identity crisis comes in is when we start having to play the role of being an originator. Most of us believe that we are originating loans, and I'm going to tell you that's 100% false. We are not in the business of originating loans. That is a result of what our efforts are. That is how we pay our bills, but that's not what we're after. We are in the business of amplifying relationships. When we speak to relationship partners, whether it be attorneys, CPAs, financial planners, realtors, past clients, board members at chambers, I don't care what it is, our number one goal should be to elicit reciprocity. Our number one goal should be to help others and then capitalize on our efforts when they acknowledge what we do. But you're going out helping people directly is not about helping people to originate a loan. Your job in helping people is to get them to acknowledge you, is to get them to accept what you're doing as an effort to help them. And then your response is no longer going to be, my pleasure, it was no big deal, glad I could help, thank God I came along. It was none of that. Instead, your conversation is going to shift to capitalizing on how you can amplify your relationship. Because we all put our best foot forward. We're all genuinely good, high character, high integrity, high morality people. The problem is that we've never been trained to understand what the human psyche seeks out when people say thank you to us. Most of what we do goes unnoticed. Most of what we do every single day is really unacknowledged. And that's not because of everybody else, it's because we fail to see the value in what we do. That's why this first class last week between Bobby and I was so meaningful to him, and why I'm sharing this with you guys today. Because everything we're going to talk about moving forward is foundationally built on the idea that when you open up your mouth, you're no longer acting like a loan officer. You're no longer acting like an originator. You're acting like an amplifier of relationships. Your purpose in calling people isn't to help get a loan. Your job or your goal on every phone call is to find out a way to make such an impact in the conversation that they acknowledge you, that they accept what you've done, that they've recognized your efforts and said something that shows appreciation. Now, let me ask you this question. Of all the friends that you guys talk to on a daily basis and all the family members that you talk to on a daily basis, have you ever been afraid, or have you ever been worried that you weren't going to be able to think of something to talk about to your friends or family? I literally can pick up a phone and talk to my friends about anything any day of the week and not hesitate. Does anybody else have something that's not like that in their life?
No, I can talk to you. Yeah.
John, what about you, buddy?
No, I don't have a problem talking to people. I mean, I can get out there and create a conversation, not a problem.
Okay, so we don't have to go into our fears of talking to people. What we have to get past, though, is dealing with how people frame us, okay? We've all heard that phrase that you literally have 30 seconds to create a first impression. People will decide whether they like you or not within a very short period of time.
Right.
I liken it to a picture frame. I liken it to every time you take a photograph and you put a different frame around it, it changes the look of the picture. It does change the way you see it. And it's a proven fact that you can change the look of an entire room by changing the frames of pictures, but by leaving the pictures the same. My wife and I, she hired a friend of hers to do some interior decorating, and instead of changing all the pictures, she's literally, no joke, going through and changing the frames on several of the pictures, some of the bigger ones. And it does make a difference. It's amazing to me. Most of what we do every day has already been tried out on realtors. Meaning right now, everything that you've said, everything that you do, everything you are, everything that you act like when you call a realtor up has been done by somebody else. Realtors are numb to it. Is that a fair assessment? I mean, we know that because they don't take our calls anymore. After the third or fourth time, you're of no value to them. Is that fair?
Yes.
The problem isn't the fact that the realtor knows who we are. The problem is the fact that we don't know who we are. And when we call up a realtor for the first time and we're like, hi, my name is Doug Carteret, I'm a lender, you've literally just closed the door on your own appointment because you've not given that realtor a chance to see who you are. See, we talked a little bit ago about the experience, that's what this economy is all about. Our world that we live in is all experiential. Realtors learn how loan officers are from their experiences. And let's be honest, loan officers don't do a really good job of being relationship amplifiers. That's why they're loan officers. We are not loan officers. We are originators. We are originators with a goal of being that person that amplifies relationships, because that's our goal. That's who we are. That's why we get out of bed this morning, and that's why people care, because we bring value to their business. We do loans well, but that's not the value they're looking for. They're looking for trust. They're looking for confidence. They're looking for a relationship. They're looking for a partner. Most realtor-lender relationships are very parasitic host. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're a host, why in God's green earth would you open the door for more parasites?
Right.
So the truth is the Thor's hammer process works really, really well because it lasts for so long, and eventually you just beat them into submission, or you catch them at the right time. And it's a great strategy, but a lot of times when we finally make that connection, we don't have any value to give. We don't have anything to offer because we're still in a dilemma in our own heads of, who am I to these people? I don't want to be a loan officer, but what else do I have to offer? This whole course is going to be driven by the law of reciprocity, the understanding of what it means to bring value to people. The understanding of our value inside of the relationship is not about being a loan officer. It's about being a relationship amplifier. I want to pull this up. I think principles of referability. So I shared this with Bobby last week, and I'll share it with everybody else that's on the call today. So this handout is, and everything that we're talking about today is being recorded, and I'm going to email you guys these handouts that I pulled up on the computer so far. But these 7 words are really the foundation of why we are referable. Okay? These are the words that really define referability to people, to the consumer. And these are the words that I've been reading since I got into the business. Character, service, commitment, relationships, values, trust, and growth. So here's the exercise that I wanted to kind of go over with you guys. I believe, hey, Bobby, just to be clear, the email that you sent me last week or yesterday was this letter, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to read you guys, I'm going to tell you a story about when I tried this out with my corporation that I opened back in 2005. So we had this young kid who really, high school graduated, doesn't really have a path in his life, and really kind of, he was my partner's wife's younger brother. Just very unmotivated, undriven. So the exercise that I put together with my staff was I gave everybody this document, and I said, I want everybody to write a letter as if they were getting it from a client. I wanted them, my employees, to write a letter to themselves as if they got a letter from a client that experienced the best process ever. And I'm going to read you guys the letter because this is the first step in being able to identify what you guys are after. Was this a good letter last week, Bobby?
Say again?
Was this letter was pretty impactful to you?
I did not see the letter.
Oh, I never read you the letter?
No, we didn't read the letter. You gave me the assignment, but we never read the letter.
Okay, so this came, now mind you, this letter came from a kid that was 19 years old, had never had a real job per se in his life, and he was the one that wrote the letter that I've held on to since 2005 that I get every time I do this exercise with people. I read it because it was so powerful to me. He says, I'm writing this letter in regards to my recent purchase of my first house. I just wanted to tell you how helpful you were during the process. I was always well informed with every step. This being my first mortgage, I have to say I was a little stressed out about the whole thing. However, you and your team took all the stress away. It took all the stress off my shoulders. You spoke about Vista's world-class service, which was the name of my company back then, when we first met, but I didn't realize what that entailed until I was almost ready to close. I was 100% confident in your decisions on how to finance this house. I didn't even think I would have been able to buy a home 2 months ago, and now I can say I'm officially a homeowner. Your team's commitment to getting me to this home showed great character. You know that I was originally looking for a home with a higher price range, but your honesty made me realize that I would have struggled with my payment if I did it. I was jumping the gun when I started to look for a home when I knew nothing about mortgages. This new relationship we have built has proven to me that I can trust you in your decisions for the rest of my life, even after only one mortgage with you and your company. Your business ethic is unselfish and your client-oriented in this money-hungry business. This shows great value on your part, and I wish nothing more than for you to grow your business and always be successful. When you get if any of us were to get a letter from one of our clients that read like this, what does that do to your idea of what you do or why you do things? How does that change the way you look at your business?
Well, I think you have it gives you a lot of value. I mean, this is great. I mean, it answers the question why you get out of bed in the morning, for me.
Yep, spot on, buddy, spot on.
Yeah.
The exercise that I'm going to give you guys this week before we move on to the next chapter, and Bobby, thank you for kind of hanging on to this call today. The idea behind this is we can't begin to start identifying what our strengths and weaknesses are until we get a foundational understanding of why we do things. I believe that these 7 words, as much as we all know them and what they mean, it's very different if we're writing the letter to ourselves if we just went through our own process, because it gives you a sense of why you do things. It gives you an identity. It helps you understand what you are to other people or what you strive to be for other people. So the homework assignment is very simple. I want each of you guys that are on this call to take the 7 words that are on this document and write a letter to yourself as if you were a client that just went through your own process. And believe me when I say this, it's a hard thing to do without sounding trite, without sounding just kind of robotic and orchestrated. If you can touch into the emotion like this young kid Mark did, it's a powerful, powerful, powerful process. Mark today is a regional director down at Chase Mortgage down in Florida. He lives in Tampa, and he is he's doing exceptionally well. And he's still in the mortgage business, not because of his ability to know mortgages, but his ability to know his value. He understands what it means to be referable. And he's not even in a sales-oriented position. He's in a service-oriented position, but he understands what it means to be referable. And just by being that, he attracts others and he makes an impact in people. And I'm not saying this letter is what did it for him. I'm saying that he made a choice to become more referable. And so when he talks about what his value is, he doesn't talk about what he does. He talks about why he does it. And that's the whole question that we started this class with. Why did we get out of bed in the morning, and why should anybody care? And when you can answer that for yourself, it gives you such confidence and such clarity that when you sit in front of a referral partner, they're attracted to you because they don't know themselves. They don't know why they're referable. They don't know why they got out of bed in the morning. They're going to give you answers to questions. They're going to give you the answer to this question that everybody's going to give you. You know, one of the greatest questions that I posed to realtors in my first meetings with them was always, so why do your clients use you? Why don't they go for sale by owner? And what makes you different than the realtor 2 doors down from you in the same office? And do you know how many realtors have an answer for me that have ever put me on my heels? None. None. Bobby, I left you with a question last week, which was, what are the 3 things that make you different than anybody else? You remember that?
Yes.
Have you thought about it?
No. Sorry.
Are you curious to know the answer?
Yes, I am.
Okay. This is the one part that I would ask that everybody writes down on a piece of paper, because I think it literally changes the way you approach your realtors. And it's such a powerful question to start a conversation off with. It really is. See, there are 3 things in our industry that you and I do and a realtor does, but nobody can articulate it. And it's amazing to me. And that's why I think this class is so meaningful, is because until you can tell people what your value is, they're never going to know. And that's why we struggle with our calls. That's why we struggle with follow-up. That's why we struggle with keeping relationships, because a lot of us don't understand our value. We just don't, on a personal and on a professional level. But on a professional level, there are 3 things that you do, we and realtors do, that you can't get out of a box, that you can't get off the internet, that you can't get from a bank, and you sure the heck can't get from a credit union. The first one is we are awesome at consulting. Our ability to ask questions, to dig deep, to challenge our clients, to not just be an order taker is why they hire us. Imagine if every person who is not feeling well went on to WebMD, self-diagnosed themselves, or called up a doctor on the phone who had a 1-800 number and asked them to diagnose their problem over the phone. There'd be a lot of problems, wouldn't there be?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So what does a doctor do when you call them up and say you're not feeling well?
He asks you questions.
No, he says you have to come in, right?
Yeah.
And what do they do when you come in? They do your blood, they do your weight, they do your height, they do all these rudimentary measurements and things that they put on a chart, which you're like, are you serious? That's not why I'm here. But they do that for a specific reason. They do that because they don't leave anything to chance. They are very, very consultative. And a doctor doesn't get paid for being a doctor. A doctor gets paid because of their bedside manner. Ask any woman why they like their doctor, and I guarantee you it has nothing to do with location, insurance provider, or anything else. It comes down to one thing and one thing only, and it's the doctor's bedside manner, because the doctor is extremely consultative. Follow me?
Yep.
The second is our ability to negotiate. Can't get that from a bank, can't get that from a credit union, can't get that from the internet. Sure the heck can't get that from most realtors in the industry. Your ability to negotiate between the underwriter and the bank and the client and the listing agent and the selling agent, and to navigate all of these things, negotiating along the way. Fair? We're all probably pretty good negotiators, right?
Yeah.
Can you get that from a box?
Nope.
Can you get that from the internet?
I don't think so. No.
I guarantee you, you don't get negotiation abilities from the internet. There's zero chance that you have somebody that fights for you in your corner on the internet. And more than likely at a bank, you're not going to get the level of negotiation that you need to help close your loan on time. They don't really care. They sure the heck haven't consulted with you, because they're a big bank. They're just going to throw you into a program and product that gets them to a closing table the way that they want you to. That's been my experience with my clients and what I've heard. But here's the biggest one, and this is number 3. There's only one thing that makes us significantly different than everybody else. It's our ability to manage fear and expectations through the process. You sure as heck do not get that from anybody else. Our ability to create expectations, manage those expectations, and help manage fear is probably the #1 reason why we are extremely successful, why we have the ability to make more money annually than most people do. Our ability to understand that we are consultants, that we are negotiators, and that we are fear and detail managers for our clients and expectation managers of our clients is the one thing that makes all this different. Let me ask you something. If you were to sit down in front of a realtor and you were fortunate enough to get a meeting with them, and you came to them and said, here's what I believe, Mr. Realtor, before we even get started, I already know your challenges in the business. I know that the one thing that runs rampant in this business is communication. There is such a lack of communication in our industry, it's disgusting. And the only people that suffer is the consumer. And you know what happens when the consumer suffers? We end up suffering, because no matter how good of a job you do and I do, if we don't communicate well and we don't communicate that well to the client, we end up losing our ability to amplify our relationships with the consumer. So what it is that I've built is a fundamental understanding that under the umbrella of communication falls 3 responsibilities that my team and I have developed and we're exceptionally good at. We're exceptionally good consultants, we're amazing negotiators, but more importantly, I am probably the best manager of fears and expectations that you will ever meet through the process. I'm looking for a realtor that understands that concept, who wants to partner with a relationship that understands the power of when you're able to communicate effectively and efficiently, the power that it has with other people, how that amplifies relationships and what that means financially to both you and I. I'm not built for every realtor, and frankly, I don't believe most realtors understand this concept. But the truth is that the fortunate ones that do get it or want to learn about it, I'm looking at partnering with them, because I believe that together we are stronger as a team than we are apart. Now, I know you're probably going to stay in this business, and I'm going to stay in this business, and whether we choose to work together or not is really indifferent. I'm really just looking at you, trying to decide if you'd be a good fit, because if I'm going to work with a realtor, I want to make sure that that realtor understands the value of relationships and understand what it means to be referable. Would you like to talk a little bit more about whether or not we're a good fit? Does anybody think that's a different approach than how you guys have done it in the past?
That's awesome.
I do that all the time.
Yeah.
What's that?
I do that all the time.
You do that all the time? That's awesome,
Yeah.
buddy. Are you being serious? Are you being genuine or sarcastic?
I'm being sarcastic. I wouldn't be on this.
Okay.
I wouldn't be on this call if I did that all the time.
All right. Well, hey, listen. I don't leave anything to chance, man. I don't want to assume anything.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
But so when you guys hear me say that, what's the impression that you're left with? Am I a loan officer? Am I just peddling product rates, fees, and programs? Have I framed myself in a different frame to see me the way that I want you to see me? Did I leave it to chance to say I'm a loan officer and let them formulate their own opinion of me? Or did I create an image instantaneously that helps them start to, I use this, they stop hearing you at that point and they start listening to you. And we all know when our clients listen, don't we? We all know when our clients shift from that moment of just hearing what we say to listening to what we say. We all know that moment when our referral sources engage with us. I'm willing to bet you that if you were able to take that little script and you were able to get in front of 15 realtors, I promise you that 11 out of the 15 realtors will leave that meeting believing that you are a better fit for their business than the loan officer that they're currently working with. And I say loan officer that they're currently working with because that's who they're working with. They're just working with loan officers.
Right.
You approach it from the mindset that you are a relationship amplifier. It's all about them. You're making your business model about how you help them, because by giving you an opportunity to work with a client, you're going to make them thankful, because that client's going to go back to them and say, God, thank you so much for referring me to Bobby. It was awesome. And look at what happens out of that. And all you did was your job as a loan officer, but then understood your value and why you do things, because you are I want to hear you all say it. What are you guys?
Relationship amplifier.
Is that a false statement, or do you guys believe that that's a real, do you guys believe that that's a real thing that you guys do?
Yes, I think it's good. Yep.
All right. I'm going to leave you with a statistic, and I want this to sink into you guys. And I'm going to start it with this story, and to me it hits home, and it just happened to me recently. So my wife, Denise, who many of you guys will meet at the conference because she managed our West Palm Beach office before I convinced her to move to Michigan, I gave her a referral of a past client because I'm no longer a licensed loan officer, and Martin is his name, and Martin was referred by a longtime past client of mine named Constantine. Well, Martin called me, I talked to him, Denise set up the appointment, and I said to Denise, who now, mind you, I've been dating Denise for a couple years now, and she has yet to still grasp this concept consistently. And this is the piece that I want you guys to understand that you're all going to struggle with, and I did as well. So I told her, I said, I want you to go into the meeting, and I'm going to do the initial presentation like I used to. I used to do the initial 15-minute presentation and let my team handle it from there. I said, I'm going to start the initial presentation. You're going to take over, and I want to hear the feedback. So I go in and I do the whole presentation. I have a 15-minute really presentation that I give, and it's catered to the client because I'm good at it enough to where I tailor it to the conversation, and it just flows very, very fluidly out of my mouth. And then I left. She took over, and an hour later she comes back into my office and she sits down and she goes, I got to tell you something, Doug. I said, that was a little uncomfortable. I said, really? Why? She goes, man, you were just so over the top. Like, you kept repeating it over and over. I was like, I got uncomfortable. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's fair. Maybe I lost my touch a little bit. I said, promise me something through the process that you're going to constantly remind them to not keep you a secret. And we'll get into that script here in a little bit, not today, but another class. So the process goes, it's a 60-day close, and she goes to closing and she comes back and she's like, I got a referral. I'm like, really? So I'm all glowing. I'm sitting on my chair and I'm like, I can't wait to have this play out. And I said, so before you tell me, how many times did you ask them not to keep you a secret? She goes, maybe twice. I go, so not consistently. She goes, not even close. I said, okay, that's fair. I said, so you were able to get a referral. Now, mind you, Martin bought a $300,000, he took out a $300,000 mortgage, and his referral, Peter, just took out a $417,000 mortgage, okay? Pretty big deals. So I asked Denise, I said, do you think that Martin referred you because of what I said in the beginning? You know, my presentation. She goes, maybe. I mean, yeah, it's probably some of it. I go, did Martin refer you because you did a really good job? She goes, yeah. I mean, I guarantee you he referred me because I did a good job. I said, that's awesome. I said, if I had not set the presentation up front, do you think he would have referred you? She goes, oh, no, because I never asked him. I said, okay. So if I had set the presentation up and you did a horrible job, do you think you would have gotten a referral? She goes, absolutely not. So it begs the question that if you do a really good job as a loan officer, you probably lose about 50 to 60% of your power of getting a referral because nobody knows that that's what you're asking for. She goes, yeah. I said, so by me setting the stage up front and you doing a good job, you're almost guaranteed that you're going to get a great, you're going to get a good, there's a high probability that you're going to get a referral. She goes, yeah. I said, so it begs the question that if you ask the people through the process inconsistently, but I did a really good job of setting the presentation and expectation up in the very beginning, the chances of you getting a referral are amplified pretty significantly. But if you did a bad job as a loan officer and you didn't set the stage up correctly, there's zero chance you're going to get a referral, and there's zero chance that you're going to get a referral if I set the stage and you did a horrible job as an LO. Are you guys following what I'm trying to explain?
Yes.
The power of setting the presentation up to my wife felt uncomfortable, but the results are undeniable because she's an exceptionally great loan officer. You guys are all exceptionally great loan officers, but you struggle with the identity of who you are in the beginning. And I'm here to tell you that everything we're going to do is to capitalize on that initial presentation so that what you already do anyway is amplified. And it's going to be amplified to help increase the chances of you getting a referral by 80%. If you go back and look at every client that you've worked with over the last 5 years, or John over the last couple months, there's a huge loss of income because you guys are not capitalizing on your ability to amplify relationships. And Bobby's example this morning about his scenario is exactly what's possible when you understand why you do things and why people care. That's my soapbox for today, ladies and gentlemen. How was it? What do you think?
I think it's awesome, man. The last thing that you were talking about, well, not the last thing, but the thing before that, the three things that we do,
Yep.
Definitely for me, I think that answers the question. You know, you're creating value. I think by doing that, that's the kicker there for me. And I kind of like the whole way that you said that, man. I mean, if that's a script, I definitely want to have it because that was fun, man.
It's not a script, man. That's just
how
I roll. That's
like
just me talking. That's just me talking. So that's why these classes are recorded. If you want the script, go back and type out the words. But none of what I say to you guys is scripted. None of what we talk about is ever. It's never. I mean, I've done this class so many times that it really comes from a place of genuineness in my heart. That this is what I believe. This is what I've done for 20 years. So when you hear me say it, it's not practiced. It's just how I do things.
Right.
And Denise was right. I was over the top in my presentation because I wanted her to see what I did. But I must have said that my business was 100% relationship-based, and it is all referred to me probably 25 times in that 15 minutes because I wanted to drive home the point so that when they left the meeting, I don't want them to think about documents and rates and fees. I want them to think about, wow, I felt really comfortable because I feel like they really care. And you know what? I would love to help them out because I think they want to genuinely help me out. That's why the reminder of don't keep me a secret through the process doesn't need to be consistent. It just allows you to remind them so at the time that you feel like you deserve it, you can call them up and go, how are we doing, John, Bobby? Have we done a good enough job in managing your expectations and negotiating the process and consulting with you that we've earned the right to ask you for a referral? I'm telling you what, guys, you're not going to leave this course living on this drug. There's a drug out there that we're all addicted to. It's called hopium. We all wake up every morning hoping that we're going to get some business, hoping we're going to get a referral. I'm going to prove to you guys that it's not something that you have to live on anymore. I'm going to give you the tools and strategies and language to articulate what's in your heart, and it's going to go to your brain, and what comes out of your mouth is going to be so comfortable and so fluid that your art of being in business is no longer going to be about closing loans. It's going to be about how you can amplify relationships and get them to see that your value by repaying you through the law of reciprocity is to constantly refer you more clients. And I promise you this, there's not another LO in your market that does it. I can guarantee you.
Hey,
all right, guys, that's my 2 cents. So all of you guys are at branches, right? You guys are at Richard Smith and Ken Travis's branch. Does everybody feel like was there good value in today and last week's call, Bobby?
Yes.
Okay. What about you, John?
Yeah, very, very enlightening. Appreciate it.
Ashley, I know you haven't said much. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I came in a little bit late, so I've had my my phone on mute here, but I've been listening for sure.
What do you think so far?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I've taken a lot of good notes here, and it's really inspiring. It definitely sounds like some advice that I can appreciate.
Does this fit within the way you'd like to see your business done?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
it's not for everybody.
I've been with Richard for 3 years as his assistant, and so he's kind of already, it's almost like that was like a prep course for this, and I can really tell, you know, that he's worked well with you guys as well. It's just the same kind of attitude. It's positive and helpful, and, you know, so that's right up my alley for sure.
Awesome. So every one of you guys got some value out of today's call, correct? Without question?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Can I ask you guys a favor? It would mean the world to me because obviously my number one concern is that you guys see the value and receive the value that I'm trying to, or that I'm providing. And in order for me to know that the people who have put you into this position are getting their value out of me, it would mean the world to me that you go back to Kenneth and to Richard and just say thank you, and really share with your own thoughts what you got out of the class and why you think it's an important piece of the business, and really genuine thankfulness for giving you guys the opportunity to be a part of it. And if you can do that for me, that's the best compliment that I can ask for, and it gives me a chance to communicate with Richard and to Kenneth around conversations that are much more meaningful because I'm helping them improve their business by helping them improve the way you guys do business. Is that fair? Can you guys do that for me?
No problem.
Is that something that would be comfortable for you?
Yeah.
See how easy it is? See how easy it is to get people to go spread your name? Do you guys see how powerful what I just said to you is? I gave value. I gave value. You acknowledged appreciation, and you're actually excited about possibly going and talking to Kenneth and Richard and sharing them what you're inspired by. And you know what I just did? I amplified the relationship between you and your branch manager. And by doing that, it amplifies my relationship with you, and it amplifies my relationship with them. And it's a win for everybody, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's cool. Very cool.
Bam! Bam! I'm dropping the mic. I'm out. Guys, I appreciate your time today. My goal, obviously, every week is to bring it so that you guys leave with some value and you guys are excited. We're going to do the class again next week. I will get you guys the replay here in about an hour or two, along with the attachments of everything that I sent. Your homework assignment for Bobby, or for John and for Ashley, is to take the words that are on this Principles of Referability letter and write yourself a letter as if you just went through your own process using those 7 words. Is that fair?
Yep.
I would like it by Tuesday of next week so that I have a chance to share them all with the class.
Okay.
Guys, you're better today than you were yesterday. Thanks for your time. I appreciate you all.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. See you guys.
Bye.